Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2 with the most remarkable Terran in the game. In the blue, it's uThermal. Facing off somewhat appropriately against the Protoss player in red, it's Shameless. In a best-of-3 Terran versus Protoss showdown as part of the newest iteration of the Monday Night Weekly Cup. And before we get started, and we're likely getting started very early. It'd be awesome if you could smash that like button or maybe even subscribe. Help me kind of the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,851 likes in this video on this cast. And I'll cast another one. I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As uThermal breaking out the Mako racks to start, and the Shameless's probe did spot it. So he knows that the barracks isn't too far away. Something intended to deceive, bamboozle, force an overreaction. But I don't think there's any chance of that. As Shameless, one of the top Protoss in Europe, even though it's quite a long list in that category. Still, well, citizens arrest! The probes catch the Reaper! And they don't need any help. The Adept drove it in, and meanwhile on the other side, the SCV's unable to catch a probe. So both emotionally and physically, a devastating start for the Cheese Maniac, as losing a Reaper to probes and unable to kill a probe with SCVs. That tells a story. What that story is up for interpretation. But to start things off, a series of unfortunate events. And now the starport on the way, a command center, nothing else particularly untowards. As uThermal focusing on things closer to home now, as he has no real way to move out against the Adept. And in fact, the command center could be delayed. He missed one shot on the Adept and does not cancel the Shade. But he gets into the main, and the SCV's vulnerable. This is your this is your opportunity. But I'm just going to rely on the Cyclone to get out of the... Well, there you go. They get their vengeance. Blood for the Blood God, and probes for the automated throne. The Cyclone will be enough, and, well, already a rambunctious start. Shameless with a very... Oh, so shameless that Pommy couldn't stay any longer, but one of those probes was meandering around the outside of the gas geyser, but he figured it out. Meanwhile, the Stalkers will dance in and out of Cyclone range. The shield battery will keep them together for now. And of course, there's a Banshee on the way, because why wouldn't there be a Banshee? The only question is how many? Just one, no cloak, no speed, just a stock. This Banshee just raw dogging its way through life for as long as it takes for Blink Stalkers to find it. Already sending it out to the next map, apparently. He's gonna hide in the corner, which might seem a bit gratuitous. Like, what's he gonna get into the base? A hallucinated Phoenix? Maybe an Observer? It does not severely lessen the chances of it getting scouted by those things, but it is a smaller chance, because why would you be looking in the corner and diving off into the forest, which we're apparently battling over here on Rainfall, one of our Team Liquid map contest maps. It looks like we updated the graphics. I saw a lot of comments enjoying the map, and a lot of comments that weren't big fans of the kind of surprisingly appropriate lighting. But it looks a lot better now. It seems the map maker updated it. So good to see that attention to detail. And a refreshing, well, metaphorically, the map itself is kind of like a generic layout, but 3 siege tanks. uThermal drops a mule spontaneously in frustration/excitement. We've all been there. The Banshees will join up with the push. The unsieged tanks are working their way across. The Blink Stalker's not nearly enough to deal with this early degree of firepower. And the Tactiboys, like 6 SCVs, are on their way across the map. Shameless is trying to take a third base. He's also going for charge, and he got a Robo Bay, but none of those things are going to be coming online anytime soon. He doesn't have enough units to stop the initial push, assuming the SCVs are able to get in position in time. Yes, there are Blink Stalkers. He's cutting off some of the reinforcements, but the bunker push has begun. I was wondering why he brought so many SCVs. I wasn't wondering that hard. It seemed pretty clear, but a couple bunkers already on top of the siege tanks. And the volleys, the Banshees themselves, they don't need cloak. The damage output is already high enough to force the Stalkers back, especially in another bunker. Leapfrogging forward. And, wait, is that... Okay. The Robo will not be depowered, but the Immortal is rallied out. No, the wrong way! And it will cost him his life. Not living up to his name. And wait, can he wall that? Yeah, sure. Why not? We need to build a wall to keep the Protoss in. They're not blinking their best. Well, the Blink Stalkers are able to escape, but now there's still more than enough damage here. As long as he doesn't stray too far from the siege tanks. The Banshees and Marines. There are 4 bunkers. A hard wall with a supply depot. He already tearing through the tech. The robotics facility is dead. The reinforcements are enough to deal with some of the Stalkers, though not all. The Zergrok's bleeding out on the field. A Dark Shrine is on the way, and a Shrine to Dark might be the only ticket out of this less than ideal situation for Shameless. The third base is not being targeted, but the Natural very much is. And the wall... he just used his Chrono, so there's no energy for recall, even if he wanted to bring this army down, which could be a devastating mistake. But on the other side, uThermal only has 28 SCVs. He is losing his Natural to 4 Stalkers. The charge slots break through one of the bunkers. More pulled off the line. Did more SCVs just come up, or were those there before? One of the Banshees is knocked out of the sky. An Immortal obliterated. The bunkers will be taken out, but it will cost all of the charge lots and the Immortals as well. And now the third base. And we could very well be back in a 1 versus 1 base scenario, with uThermal having a floating command center. The tank is taken out. The Banshee knocked out of the sky. And the Marines aren't going to be making it home. The question is how much damage they could do at Shameless's. As the SCVs... Now... Well, okay, now what? He's warping in a Dark Templar, but it's a slow warping because there's no Nexus nearby. There are 3 observers telling a story of the Select All Army Hockey usage. Tries to turn, knocks out 1 more Stalker, which is about the best they could hope for. There are 2 Dark Templar, 7 Stalkers, and 3 Observers. And uThermal built a Raven. I think strongly suspecting this exact scenario. And of course seeing that many Observers, but there's a wall coming up back at home. Bunker number, what, 5? 6 at this stage? Oh, the supply depot! Not that he's at any risk of being supply blocked. The Dark Templar is exploderated. Another one will evade detection enough. And the Blink Stalkers could get into the main. We're dead even on supply. 9.5 minutes in, 61 supply. Stim is vulnerable, and it just started. As the topsy-turvy early game has resulted in a scenario that we'd usually see about 5 minutes before this point. One of the saddest recalls. 2 Stalkers will get out. 2 of them will not. Meanwhile, though, 5 SCVs dead, Stim delayed, which is not as big of a factor as it would usually be, considering the reason you need Stim is to deal with a critical mass of gateway units. And they usually have a critical mass of gateway units because it's an easy 3 bases and plenty of probes. But uThermal took out not 1, but 2 out of 3 Nexi. Though the probe count still relatively healthy. He only lost 14 probes, and he already had a lot more to begin with. So Shameless still very much has a... He's trying to put together some form of sanity. Snap back to reality and figure out how to get back on track here. Whereas uThermal has set up the literal siege line at the Natural. A bunker to help zone out. The Marines will spot some of this. And he just kept building... He's building more Banshees. These are Banshees 5 and 6. No one expects Banshees 2 and 3, let alone 5 and 6 at this stage. And I mean, God forbid, we end up with 6 and maybe 7. If you have children, I'm sorry. And if you don't, congratulations. And also, I guess if you are a child, well... Congrats on evading the parental controls, but here we are. And look forward to the back pain. Do you know what a CD-ROM is? I don't... CDs. ROMs. Now another tank push, and the boys are back in town. Another wave, uThermal, bigger, better, bolder, and even more all in. As the builders are coming across the map and uThermal unwilling, unable, or unneeded a third base. 107 to 104 supply. uThermal technically has more workers, though half of them are part of the army. The stim is completed, combat shield as well. The third base under heavy fire. Charge lots cutting off, the few reinforcements trickling across. The SCVs are going back, as this was a bit of a false start. Okay. Though there's a bunch of charge lots at the natural, so that's a bit of a questionable decision. The home they're going back to is currently being ransacked by charge lots. The third base was taken out, but now it's uThermal who's losing his natural. 10 SCVs. Shameless lost a few more probes. And it feels like things are quickly heading to a middle. As the +1 infantry weapon's about to complete. He does not have a wall on the high ground. And he does the craziest charges around the corner. As he just yeets the zealots. But the SCVs. This DT's on hold position. 15 SCVs dead. The charge lots will be taken out. uThermal is back to mining. In quite an unexpected journey. And, well... Huh. Shameless has learned his lesson. And has decided to expand to the bottom left corner. Something that is less obvious. The decision to go all the way across with all of the SCVs at the natural and then send them all the way back was certainly a curious one. And now bunkers, what, 8 and 9 coming up? He's even putting a bunker at the very back of the base. I wonder if this is a stand-in for a missile turret. It's also very helpful against charge lots and almost never utilized. Because charge lots will charge towards any threat in range. They don't care if it's a bunker behind the mineral line or a bunch of juicy SCVs. They are not the most nuanced creatures, despite the advanced nature of the proton. Some Marines getting obliterated with the backdrop of the beautiful Shopify logo. Shopify Rebellion, sponsoring the TLMC. The extended thermal lance upgrade is almost done, putting it just behind mine, and now double drop in the bottom left corner, but uThermal was not looking for this, but he'll find it anyways. Though I don't think he noticed the minimap, and there we go. He spotted it. The probes on the run. The army's coming back to defend. How many Banshees are out there? There's still one Banshee. The double drop. Disruptor shot around the corner will clip one Marine. And, well, oh god. Oh, sweet mother of mercy. One full medevac loaded up and knocked out of the sky. And one more time. He's not going to try it this time. Up like, oh. The Banshee is taken out. A scouting disruptor, it looks like, was just... Oh no, but the siege tanks! Very lucky that there was a zealot or two in front to absorb the fire. Those Colossi would not stand up for long. And the double bunker will vindicate itself. Shameless is actually behind on workers and behind on supply. And he's walking directly into siege tank fire. Oh no, what? He's looking the other way. And it's an absolute disaster. Half of his army is annihilated before the fight even starts. And the rest is going to have a real tough time. The anti-armor missile. Disruptor shot comes up short. DT trying to save the day. uThermal probably has precious few scans. He has one. The DT slicing through. There's a drop of the natural. The surviving medevac. Shameless. Well, the DT denied by the Raven. Shameless will warp in another Dark Templar, but it'll be immediately killed with the scan. Well, with the units, but the scan facilitated it. It's an accomplice at best. Meanwhile, the auto turrets come out. A good surround. Disruptor shot around the corner. Slams into the Marauders. Reinforcements on the way. uThermal is up 30 supply. It's just Colossi and no answer. The anti-air's gone. The army's gone, the Colossi are gone. And it seems, after almost 15 minutes straight of back and forth and a game that almost neither player made it above 100 supply. uThermal. Well, okay. He has almost no units that can attack here, and he's trickling across the map. It would take a titanic throw in every possible sense and reference to lose from here. The Vikings are on the ground. The medevacs are in the air. The Stalkers are a little bit too slow on all fronts. 8 more probes dead. Several more. Shameless is back to less than he started with. And I think he's just dead. He's building 4 probes at a time, but he's got too many problems and not enough minerals to solve them. As it feels like somehow uThermal drags Shameless down and beats him with experience. Shameless embracing that freestyle meta for a while there. And it almost found success, but I think in the end it backfired. Though, like, he's dead, right? He's at 14, 13 probes. No, there's no coming back from this. He doesn't have mules. The DT will be hunted down. I don't blame Shameless for still trying to figure out exactly what's going on. He has no idea how much supply uThermal has. It literally could just be this. He killed a lot of SCVs this game, too. 32. The Raven has survived throughout the majority of this. And GG! It's all over. After 18 minutes, nearly 40,000 resources, despite neither player ever getting over 50 workers. He only destroyed 3 bunkers, which means uThermal was able to salvage several. Actually, I think there were still a couple. The main base had floated over to the 3rd of all the games I've ever seen. That was certainly one of them. The wall-in bunkers, but credit to Shameless on not breaking under the pressure. He managed to break out. Yes, it was devastating, the amount of damage. But he still put together a solid army and broke out of the contain and almost turned it all the way around. But maybe got a little dizzy and hurt himself in his own confusion. I'm still confused about the decision to send the SCVs back. It ended up working out. But the timing was a bit dicey and very slicey. But here we are. I think we switched servers, so uThermal under his second alias, Rat Gameplay, which, yeah, yeah. The words, what do they mean? The brain just invented words. Does that even mean anything? Like and subscribe for Existential Dread. And also, Shameless... Wait. Jimmy! Yes, I know he's Shameless, but the other player is named Shameless. It's okay. That's fair. I don't... Sorry. uThermal up 1-0. And his first barracks is in the main. A relatively typical location. They've even changed colors here just to make it more confusing for everyone. Marine first. And only 1 gas, though he did go for the factory before CC. So, opens up some extra options. Shameless, I assume, wants to get back. Shameless, a much more regular participant in tournaments. A more standard player. And as you could see through most of that match, he tried to go off the script, and I thought it was an inspired idea to go for the hidden base. But the way uThermal plays, it just kind of... It just works out for him. He's always in the places you least expect him to be, even if you're expecting the unexpected. And even if that's... Well, let's throw that commentary out the window and see what flies in as the probe just casually slaps a pylon down in the middle of the map. It's going to be double Hellion for uThermal and a apple juice box for Shameless, covered by a gateway. Maybe making sure his gateway is extra juiced, which I'm not sure the Protoss would have any use for, since Protoss don't have mouths, but, you know, it's the idea that counts. The Adept incinerated. One Hellion needs a whole lot of repair, the other not so much, but definitely not anticipating the Hellions. And even if he did, it'd be almost impossible to get the Adept back in time. Double Widow Mine after the first 4 Hellions. Well, the factory menagerie. It's something different. This build relies 100% on Shameless getting caught off guard. If the Stalkers are in position, if Blink is done, well, it's a long way off at the moment. Especially because Shameless is going for the proxy, kind of like the half and half proxy gate. He doesn't want to commit all the way to the cheese, but he certainly wants to do something. And I have a feeling this game is about to go sideways, as uThermal literally only has Widow Mines at home and SCVs. So the Hellions will run in, get some of the probes, several to start, and force field opportunity. He's lining up a lot of probes, though. There's Widow Mines on the top of the ramp. 9 probes dead. And, well, 1 Widow Mine. Does he drop? Huh. Here we are again. Oh, he's... Yikes. That is a weapons-grade oof right there. There was no reason you need to stay in range of the mine that long, but alas. And now the Widow Mine drop is coming across the map. Blink is not done, and the Widow Mines are slowly but surely boxing in the Stalkers. Though, hallucinated probes, I love it. I love it. And then he lost all the probes. But hallucinated probe, oh my... And not so hallucinated probes will be obliterated by the mines. All forms and realities of probes being taken out on either side of the map. Oh no. Oh, he's really struggling with the Minecraft gameplay. Meanwhile, the medevac is going to try to escape while the Stalkers are murdering the mine, and I think it will. At least for now, but it's got quite a ways to go back home. Anyways, you hallucinate 4 probes at once, as opposed to just 1 unit, which is why it was maybe uniquely useful in this exact scenario, because you could potentially trigger multiple Widow Mines with a single hallucination. The medevac, it's Shameless's turn. Complete. Knocks out the medevac with the Blink Stalkers. Convenient placement, and Shameless has survived the initial onslaught. He has Blink, and uThermal did some damage. But now that Shameless knows what he's dealing with, the superficial damage, I don't know if it was enough. The Marauders microing in and out and dodging the shots, but he could just take out the medevac, which would solve most of those problems. The boys are pulled off the line. uThermal can't really afford to lose any, but he's going to have to pull them because he can't afford to lose the Marauders either, or even more so. Kind of boxed myself into a corner there with that commentary, just like uThermal has boxed himself into a corner with his build. He needed to get more damage done on the other side. Shameless is more ham-fisted yet effective. Stalker play was just too much. I say, I'm using past tense. It's still pretty intense, but the defense is barely making any sense, no matter what lens you look through. And so far, even with Blink, 68 to 59 supply. 5 more gates on the way. Charge is not too far off completion. uThermal's going to have a medevac timing. I assume he's going to pull the boys, because there is no economic future here The Protoss already has 55 probes. He's thinking about a 4th base, which is possibly the only thing he could do to lessen, wow, his chances. A Warp Prism is on the way. If he spends any more on not units, there's a chance that uThermal, who's now clearly bringing the boys across the map, will actually be able to break through. But those chances, I think, dwindling as the Observer spotted it immediately. The medevacs are completed. One of them either delayed or supply blocked, unfortunately. And the Stalkers are hunting for reinforcements. Charge is done. There's multiple sentries with Guardian Shield. The tanks will siege. Oh, but the medevac... He's not even looking that way, but there's no combat shield. The charge lots are eating the SCVs. The medevac somehow made it through, which means uThermal can knock out one of the sentries. Heal up the Marines and Marauders just a bit, but GG. He knows the next charge will be the last one. And we're all tied up. The ambitious Mass Factory unit opener just didn't do enough damage, and Shameless just backhanded him with the Stalkers. And eventually the blink was too much. I don't think he expected the proxy gate. I like the little cheese accents that Shameless is mixing in. A hidden base, a proxy gate. Proxy gate for reinforcing, not a proxy gate. And if I hide this, I win the game. Very different sort of vibe, but... Well, looks like we're back. The Cheese Maniac has returned. In game number 3, the Decider. And an SCV has left the base. Where are you off to? There's a lot he sent it out at the beginning of the game, which means Proxy Rex is very much on the table. Not an engineering bay block, though it still could be. Feels like a detour in this location is pretty clear, though. Probe. Not sent out at the beginning of the game. A bold move. A risky one. And one he might regret in about 20 seconds when he gets to the base and sees a severe lack of barracks. We'll see if his lactose intolerance is too high, or if he can figure this one out. 2 gases for uThermal. So, this is no macaroni and cheese. He's fully committed. It's going to be a factory more than likely behind. The question is, what's first from the barracks? Cybercore, B4 Nexus, but the probe is already scouted. He's very aware of the severe lack of barracks on the other side of the map. And that SCV came in from an obscenely suspicious angle. Well, SCV tagged by the probe. Think suspecting maybe a bit more hostile architectural intentions. Oh, don't leave him. Oh, and that... See, this is why they need a chaperone. A chaper probe. Yeah. Speaking of, well, the Reaper comes in. The probe's going to suffer for it. I don't think likely to find the success of the very first ones against this Reaper. The bunker will complete, and there's Marauders with concussive shell on the way. This is only going to get worse. The Cheese Maniac has begun. It dodges the Stalker shot. A shield battery is on the way, but it's already being hit by the Reaper, which I think takes it out just as it finishes. Another Stalker. He's got to contest this. The Marauder is trundling up. A Hellion is quite a far ways away, but the Marauder is going to make this infinitely more complicated. If he loses the SCV, it's a lot more plausible. He really needs to kill the SCV, but uThermal ain't going to let that happen. The shield battery gets a few dregs of energy. And, well, tries to buy another second or two. Everything will survive, and he's kind of standing his ground. The SCV could eat another shot, potentially. The Marauder body blocks with the Marauder. Comes around the corner. Gonna trade a Marauder and a Stalker. And now the Reaper, and again, another Marauder Stalker trade, and somehow the Reaper survives it all. Which, and now the Hellions, oh no. Oh, it's a disaster. He only has one gate. He's making another Stalker, which is actually a mistake, because Warp Gate just finished. It would be faster to just, yes, let Warp Gate finish. The shield battery, he has energy recharge. He can survive this for now. But there's a timer. Shameless has 27 probes. He can pull probes if he gets a second shield battery. He's got a Stargate on the way as well. There's a not, like, it looked like uThermal had enough, but Shameless has actually played this by the skin of his non-existent teeth right here. It's so close. But, well, yeah, that's not a second, well, technically it's a second gate if you're going to be pedantic and say Stargates are a form of gate, but that... Don't beat that guy. Okay. Oracle is the choice. Which, I feel like a Void Ray might be it, but the Stalker taking big hits. The Marauders breaking their knees, and the shield battery's not done. The Oracle does build faster than the Void Ray. I think that might be factoring in dramatically. And the Stalker struggling, but any amount of shots, the Oracle's done. He lights it up. Energy recharge is available. Recharges it from the low ground. Burninating across the Hellions, but they're burninating through the mineral line. And, oh, there's still the Marauders and Reaper, by the way. The medevac just, oh. Now there's a Void Ray in production. Shameless has plummeted to a 12-worker lead. Well, he has one Oracle and a Dream right now. The shield batteries needs to reshield the pylon. He does so, but the Marauders are breaking through. He pulls the probes. The Oracle lights up with the last dregs of energy. There's a Viking here to contest it. Wait, Stim is done? I haven't looked at uThermal's base this entire game because he's so based on the other side of the map. And he's targeting the pylon. The Void Ray! Oh, 2 seconds away! And those 2 seconds are absolutely everything. The Void Ray may come out, but the economy will already be gone by the time it does. He recharges the Oracle. He's now got 2 Vikings. The juggling here. Oh, he lights up the Void Ray, but at this point, the Viking, well, cancels the charge up just in time in order to get the speed on it. And, oh, come on. And the Marauder's stimming across. And if he had if that Void Ray had finished, Shameless has 10 more probes and the game goes on. But the Void Ray itself is finished. And I think so is Shameless. The Cheese Maniac claims another. uThermal, 2. Shameless, 1. We've had our fun. We saw, in Game 1, a whole ton of bunkers and other cheese conundrums. But if there's one more thing you'd like to see, one more rhyme that I butcher completely, well, that last thing is hopefully beyond. Because guess who's in the next round? Edit that out. That was horrible. Micro Jackson. Beyond. Up against uThermal. Terran versus Terran, but I have a feeling this is not going to feel like a mirror matchup. As, well, Beyond, currently the 3rd ranked Terran player in the world, behind Clem and Maru. But I don't think uThermal plays by the same standards. As his first move is to build a supply depot at the Reaper Wall location, which is an interesting choice. Just something a little bit different. Maybe, arguably, a little bit better. We'll see. And And the barracks on the way. Walling off the Reapers at all in this... In any matchup, but especially for Terran, can be a lot of peace of mind, and it's almost impossible for the Reapers to get through the supply depots, obviously. Though it's a bit of a liability later if there's something like a tank push, but we'll see. I'm interested to see what he has in store. I'm sure, and I want to point something out. He is playing Terran. We've seen uThermal play random or just pick a different race each game, which his native Terran is clearly his strongest. The creativity with Protoss and Zerg cannot be denied. But you always remember your first love. Or something profound like that. And Terran also probably has the most profound options for cheese. Protoss has arguably the most disgusting. And Zerg has the most committed. But Terran cheese, just because of the relative ease of transitioning your economy, as well as how easy it is to hide it, is the most nuanced. Or at least that's what the Terrans will tell you. As it requires a lot of setup, a lot of planning, a lot of trying to give your opponent the wrong information so they can make exactly the wrong call at the right time. So, well, amusingly, neither player has scouted outside of their base at all. Here on Defender's Lab, another one of our map contest maps, where uThermal has looked for proxy wrecks. He's got a command center on the high ground, significantly quicker. I don't know, I'm struggling with words today. The games are, well, I'm just trying to match the energy here of mildly controlled chaos with a bit of a side eye. Oh, what a perfect grenade into the Hellions coming out. And actually, while he didn't wall it off, he had that caution. He had that little bit of extra time to prepare. The grenade was perfect. Saved his own Reaper. Bought a little bit of time for the Hellions to come out. And now uThermal has a pretty decent bit of initiative. Beyond is sending a Cyclone. A safer follow-up, unless you just send it across the map. Which, a Cyclone can beat any two of these units. But all four, I want to say, it actually loses to. And Beyond not going to risk it. He pops up to the top of the ramp and realizes if he goes any further, it's a real risk to his existence. What? Marauder, concussive shell. It's going to be Marauders with concussive shells again. Doesn't matter. Hellion, Protoss, I assume Zerg, though there's less uses. Possibly the perfect counter to the cycle. Oh, here we go. It's drop o'clock. There is no anti-air for uThermal. There's plenty for Beyond. The Marauders, just close enough. He can dodge the Cyclone locks. He tags one of the clones, knocks it out. Beyond is forced to pick up. There's a siege tank here, and here we go. A little bit of everything. The siege tank will siege. He's trying to avoid any extra damage from the Cyclone because there's a very real chance if it locks onto the medevac, it knocks it out of the sky. And Beyond gets the tank just in time and keeps uThermal from being able to chase him across the map. 34 to 31 workers, despite killing off a couple. As uThermal had the slightly delayed natural and also lost one or two to the first Reapers. There's a Liberator sneaking out across the map, which is entirely reliant on Beyond looking the wrong way at the right time. As there's still a Cyclone and about to be a Raven above the field. And the supply depot. Wow, scans, which will save the Liberator, but is a significant portion of his economy. Beyond, on the other hand, is going for a third command center. Which is what is that, a second starport? Mass Raven? Not completely unheard of. But... oh, Raven Viking going for full air control. Beyond is going for anything but. Beyond is doing literally the minimum possible to protect himself right now. He's got 3 racks on the way, but he's already got a 3rd command center, getting 2 engineering bays. If he'd gotten the engineering bays before additional racks, well, that's just full greed. But either way, uThermal is clearly angling for a Raven Viking timing. Beyond is on default mode. The 3 racks, the 1-1. Thing is, if uThermal doesn't find exactly the right timing, that Cyclone, it's so close. He's trying to buy some time. The Marauder, the concussive. Oh my.
What a save!
He slowed it. That was so risky. He didn't even break the lock. He just slowed it just enough. If he loses that medevac, that extra threat that keeps Beyond busy, well, it doesn't help. It's not a deal breaker right now, but now that the Cyclone's on the other side of the map, unfortunately for uThermal, Beyond is back at home, scrambles with the interference matrix, locks down the Liberator. But on the bright side, and at the same time, the fact that Beyond was back at home at all gives uThermal an opportunity to move out. Did he bring any SCVs with this? He might need the repair. So, the 3rd command center was spotted by Beyond Scan, which means he knows the army is likely coming across the map, because why are you still on 2 base? The medevac came back and unloaded. He doesn't actually know where uThermal's army is. Does he have... oh, he doesn't have interference matrix. Though the Vikings might be able to take this out. And uThermal has air control. It is 7 Vikings to 0. Which, quite a disparity. Auto turret slapped down, but anti-armor missile gonna soften things up. Beyond trying to solve every problem with Marines and tanks. And he still might. uThermal rotates around, and without interference matrix, he has no direct way of dealing with the tanks. The auto turrets are helping. Needs to try to drop the auto turrets on top of them. The Cyclone still in range. Actually knocks out a Raven and gets away with it somehow. 1-1 just finished. Combat shield just finished. And uThermal's chances of breaking through drastically dropped with it. He needed to break these tanks a little bit earlier. The counter scan auto turret, but does surprisingly little. And now Beyond, uThermal's going to pull back and try to macro it. He's going Mass Liberator, which is certainly something. Though up against Marines and medevacs is less than ideal. Scans across the center of the map as both players desperately try to keep track of the other. But the Marines are just stimming in. There goes 1 Raven. Make that 2. Why not a medevac Viking or 2? It's just too much damage. The backstab, the drop, perfectly timed. And uThermal's so close, but yet so far. I think if he had interference matrix on those Ravens, he can break through. He can scramble a couple tanks and use that as a crowbar to break into the base. But he made the call. I don't know if it was active one or just didn't have the money at the time, but even though it's like the cheapest upgrade. Beyond, pretty significantly bamboozled, but Beyond also one of the most experienced, if not, honestly, I think Beyond has played more games of professional StarCraft 2 than any other Terran in the world. Considering he plays over 300 professional matches a month today, and he plays in like everything. Everything. You got your daughter's quinceañera? Call Beyond. All right? You're celebrating your 37th birthday. Where did the years go? Call Beyond. He's not too far behind. $100,000 tournament? Obviously. Call Beyond. 2v2 on StarCraft Evo? He's already there, believe it or not. He's actually the rank 1 or 2 SC Evo player as well. So... but uThermal hanging with him, and I really think it was very close. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if uThermal's already made a video related to some of these games. Don't know exactly the timing, but interested to know the thought process on the Ravens and the lack of interference matrix. It's one of those, like, I just need to hit a timing as soon as possible. Auto turrets can get it done. Also, you don't know exactly what Beyond's going to do. Let me put a big asterisk and say, you know what Beyond's going to do, but you don't know what most Terrans are going to do. TVT is usually a whole nother beast, but even in TVT, well, how do you think he plays 300 games a month? Do you think he's going to have different builds? Very occasionally. But if he doesn't end up with 3 barracks, 2 engineering base, 3 command centers, and a marine tank timing by like 6 to 8 minutes, then I'm just going to say we check his computer and see who else is playing. That's a lot of check boxes, but they're surprisingly consistent. An SCV taps the watchtower and then takes a hard right turn, like most Terran governments, and, well, proxy starport? In this economy? All right. The Reaper looking around. Neither player scouting again, besides far enough out, but uThermal's scouted to the watchtower just to see, I think just to see if another SCV was coming across. What? Why did you stop? Billy! You're not getting paid by the hour. What? I was lied to in the contract. Sorry. I know. I have no idea. Reaper Hellion against Reaper Hellion, with the huge asterisk again of the proxy starport for a medevac? A liberator? Which is the second most curious of things you can build without a tech lab. The first, of course, being a Viking, which would be not completely useless, but a very interesting choice. A Reaper Hellion headed across the map, and, well, Beyond gets the jump, but uThermal actually gets the kill. There's more Reaper Hellion on the way. A Cyclone in production as Beyond goes about almost exactly the same build so far. Because of course he does. Command center on the way for uThermal. Beyond's is already done. The Liberator will siege up, but the Cyclone will come out. Can he get away in time? The Reaper Hellion's moving in. And the Cyclone! The last shot! And he catches him. Oh, wait. The Liberator could siege up. He uses the lock-on. And uThermal is about to... He just locked Beyond out of his own base. Now, it's not the hardest contain. It's a semi-hard contain. And a Raven might be enough to undo it on its own, as the auto turret, yeah, I can slap it down, targets the Liberator. And now the Cyclones come out, so I was a bit optimistic. We now see the Raven headed north. He built a Raven. We've got Interference Matrix again as Beyond. The same build. Does he have a tank queued up? Of course he does. A little bit supply blocked, I think. Thrown off just a bit here by uThermal's very almost reckless attack as he just dove in and hoped for the best. And it's that violence of action that sometimes is enough. The Raven will spot the starport, though he doesn't see the second Raven come out for uThermal. And the army's coming to... Beyond has yet to scout outside his base. He knows what the threats are. The furthest he got was the watchtower with the Reaper Hellion. Meanwhile, uThermal? Well, there are tanks here, and that command center is in a precarious position. uThermal does not have interference matrix, unfortunately, but... Well, that Hellion eats a lock-on. It's 1 tank to 1. Another tank is on the way. Locks on to the Ravens. There are 3 Ravens right now for Beyond, who's getting 3 racks and 2 engineering. He actually went engineering base before the barracks this time. Oh, Beyond. So consistent, so predictable, but almost be unstoppable. The Marines getting blasted from the high ground. The Ravens, he could scramble the Ravens in turn, but the auto turrets are slapped out. The command center finishes. Oh, everything's just a day late and a dollar short right now for uThermal. Almost delayed the command center. Almost sniped up. Oh, the tank gets intercepted by the Cyclone. And this contain is becoming less and less viable. He's building another starport back at home. The tank, well... Oh, but the wall of auto turrets. There's still 2 tanks with this. uThermal's still very close on supply, as Beyond didn't have the production, and he hasn't been focused on it. He has 3 CCs and 2 engineering base. He's upgrading 1-1, though he did delay the armor. So uThermal has forced the issue. There's a 3rd tank coming out. Auto turret slapped down. Covers for his tank. Blasts through the first one from Beyond. Another one will siege up at the back. uThermal sieged first. There's the target fire. Blast through the Marines. Auto turret at the back. The boys are pulled off the line. And the auto turrets are not enough. The Marines are gone. The tanks are targeted, overwhelmed, and destroyed. And uThermal unable to break through Beyond for the 2nd time. But so close again. Maybe this one a few degrees further, but still dangerous. The Ravens are uniquely dangerous. I think auto turrets get underestimated, but unfortunately Beyond has some of his own. uThermal able to do the math there and know that the numbers spell disaster. Which brings us to our second anti-spoilers. Yes, we can fit... We could cram so many uThermal games in this video. For pretty obvious reasons. But wait, there's more. How many more? Well, guess. And while you're down there, like and subscribe. And check out uThermal. And if you haven't yet, though I'd be surprised if the video... You didn't come here from there. Or if this video... was not recommending one of his right on the side. But here we have the return of rack gameplay against Azura. And if I remember correctly, the cheese is a bit more long-winded here. So I'm going to throw us into a time warp. I've thought about this sort of video in the past. Like just speeding through some games to get to the juicy parts. But the thing is... Honestly, so many players look like a worse version of Beyond. I guess it's some offense, but so many players, and for good reason, but they look like a very marginally worse, but noticeably worse version of Beyond or Cyril. Not Hero. Hero's his own thing, but like of Classic or Max Packs. A lot of players will look to those players and be 97% as good most of the time. But that's not enough. Like, what that means is the games play out in a very similar fashion. You don't get the sort of bespoke builds and situations that uThermal, in all his glory and all his horror, is able to bring us. There are a few other players out there. The thing is, the overlap of players who are good enough to at least sometimes win with these strategies, and the ones who come up with them, is nearly two separate circles. We have players like Gumiho. We have Hero, who's Hero. And how did we start this? Why was I pontificating about all this? why we don't get more kind of like cheese compilations and stuff like that. Because very simply, for most people, the game is figured out. And they're unwilling to risk their highest percentage play on one that's a bit more of a gamble. uThermal, on the other hand, I think that's his whole brand, so... Blink in production. A proxy starport. And the Reaper Hellion. 2 Adepts and a Stalker. Doesn't seem worth it. At least he seems so far. Starport on the beach. Hopefully the tide doesn't come in here on washout. Adepts chasing. A tech lab. The Reapers pop into the main, but the shield battery anticipates them. Gonna be rebuffed for now. Alright, take your guess. What's it gonna be? It is TVP, so it's Banshees, right? And he's got enough in the bank for Cloak. Cloak, Banshees, hidden on the corner of the map. I think it's almost certain he's going to wait for at least 2 of them. Azura has played a much more defensive... He's got Blink already done, but made no effort to move out. Which is a perfectly viable strat. The only problem is... he hasn't scouted. He hasn't seen anything in the main. He hasn't seen the starport or lack thereof. So, against a conventional Terran, a Beyond-style Terran, if you would, he'd be going Colossi into someone who's going 3 racks. He's going to Colossi into someone who is going to have multiple Cloak Banshees. And Colossi can't headbutt air units, despite how many times we've suggested that as a real balanced solution. Couple probes are sniped off. Kind of a costly use of the Reaper Hellion, but he keeps tabs on everything. Just the fact the Stalkers are back at home, the fact there's double gas at the natural. He has not seen the Robo Bay, but I don't think he'll be too unhappy once he figures it out. Now, it's just 25 SCVs against 46 probes. If these Banshees do not do critical damage, then uThermal's going to be in a critical position. So, he's holding on to them for so long. Well, he's just holding on to him until he gets 2. The scan knocks out 1 observer. We'll go with the first 2 Banshees. We're 6 minutes in. We're well into what is usually considered the mid-game. And these Stalkers are in position. A uThermal. You want a piece of me, boy? He cloaks the Banshees. There's an observer on the way. But the probes will already be targeted. Punching through the shield battery. But the observer's already here. The Blink Stalkers. A Banshee? He does not have a shield battery at the natural. May lose 1. Wait, what? He missed the... okay. But the rest of the army's coming across the map. The Tacti boys along with it. The Banshee's in the corner, dragging a lot of this army out of position. Charge is not done. Extended Thermal Lance is not done. He's bought all this time. He's completely dragged his attention away. And... suddenly 4 siege tanks, an unwelcome guest, and a potentially game-ending one. Not the most nuanced play, but the Banshee's just commanding attention. But wait, there's more. And there's only 1 Stalker left. He could actually just beat the Stalker. And, I think he just wins. Another Colossus pops out. He decides he doesn't want to live in this world anymore. Just walks up and kills him. uThermal with a decisive victory off the well-timed Banshees. Which is usually why we see the aggression from Blink Stalkers. It's not just defensive. The best defense is oftentimes a good offense. Where you send the Stalkers and force them to respond in one way or another. And oh my... well, welcome to Rorschach. For match point. There's already a barracks on the other side of the map. A probe being sent out, not particularly early, but definitely not late. I think, off the first gate. Double gas. We'll see how Azura, I believe, is a high Grandmaster Protoss. But definitely our least, has the least name recognition of players we've seen today. And he knows it's uThermal. Like, everyone knows who Rat Gameplay is. Also, I'm pretty sure he signs up for these tournaments as uThermal. But there's the extra stress of, if I lose really bad, this is going to be a high point of his video. And now this one, potentially. Well, it's a Reaper proxy. The SCV comes in. He's gonna spot the second gas just starting. And no zealots from Azura means the bunker has begun. A stalker's in production. A probe on the other side of the map. And the Reaper is going to be able to box out. He's already building a tech lab. It's going to be Proxy Marauder behind. The Stalker should come out. Almost loses the Reaper to the probes, but slips away. Buttered it up beforehand. The Stalker hunting. And the Reaper... Oh! Almost wanted to let the probe get a kill. The probe is so close to finding it. Not that... Well, salvages the bunker. Oh my. Okay, wait a second. Oh no. Oh, is that gonna work? He's hiding the Marauders and token concussive shells. Azura is not built. He's not building a shield battery. Oftentimes when you go Reaper proxy, that's it. Maybe a second Reaper. Oh, this is just pure mind games. He could have maybe gotten the Marauder to the bunker. But he salvaged it, which is giving his opponent an incredibly false sense of security. Like, well, that was that. A little bit of cheeky cheese, but all right, a Hellion coming across. That's not surprising either. And then the... Oh, no. 2 Marauders have hit the natural. The second cheese has struck. And the Stalkers... Where are the Stalkers? I think they were recalled? They were recalled back into the main. He's already lost several probes. The fact there was no shield battery built at all is a reckless disregard for the potential follow-up and a potentially lethal one. A Dark Shrine is on the way. He's building it in the corner on the other side of the map. And DTs could definitely turn this around. But he's got a lot of time before that shrine finishes. The Nexus will not be fun. And the question is where he draws the line. The Marauders are continuing to produce. There's an armory on the way. I have no... Thor's? uThermal knowing how much damage he's done. The depots are open. We'll see if they remain that way. The Starport building an engineering bay. An optimistic re-expand from Azura. And he didn't even get Blink. He's just straight to Dark Templar. There are 5 Marauders and 2 Hellions. He cannot deal with that with 4 Stalkers. Even the Dark Templar are going to take some time. Now, important is that uThermal just now is building a second command center. A single Dark Templar is warped in. 2 Dark Templar! He only has 2 gates, which means no Dark Templar back at home. Another Marauder pops out. The Hellions are in the main base, incinerating the probes. He knows. He knows. He's building a missile turret. There's nothing here. He's not that flabbergasted by your all-in that he forgot to build anything. Let's be honest here. And by the time the DTs hit the main, the missile turret will already be alive. The probe count will be gone. And uThermal, oh, earns just a single G. The salvage on the bunker completely and utterly defeated him mentally. And then he defeated him physically. But he saw that bunker get salvaged. He's like, macro time. Which, exactly the wrong call. And it cost him everything. Now, if he had built a shield better, if he had prepared for a follow-up, would it have been better? Well, yes. Would it have been enough? Much better question. But the last question is, if you liked it and subscribed, and thank you for watching. Thank you to uThermal for another set of finally selected. Each one just a little bit different and arguably a little bit better. Hopefully, like I made your day over the last pretty significant chunk of it. But thank you for watching. And if you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So make sure to check out this video. Jimmy picked it out just for you. Thank you to our meal tier patrons, Big Jake, Devin Door, Kate, Crazy Mouse, Mario Suit. Glad you still enjoy. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.